Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining our August Finance Committee meeting. Hope everyone enjoyed the month of July off, just for our Finance Committee meeting. So first on the agenda tonight is the June and July bank reconciliation. So Mr. Wagers or Bonsall, whoever wants to take the floor.
So we will in fact not be doing July tonight.
Okay,
We're
sorry.
close, we're about $700 or so off in variance right now, so it's just kind of searching through the crevices to figure out where that's at and what's going on there. But June is complete, you guys were sent June. All of the bank statements for both June and July are in the financial data folder. So those are there to view. I mean everything looks good. We don't typically submit it to you until the variance is gone. By the time it makes it to you, it's correct, it's right, and hopefully. And I also gave you guys a paper copy of the current earnings tax to date. The report is stretched out to the 31st of August. So you're going to see a couple $100,000 short there. Don't worry about that. We still got some time. We got batches that are open that'll be closed that'll add to that report, and then we have lockbox payments and Ohio Business Gateway payments that will be still coming in for this week up until the last day of the month. That will all reflect on that report before you. But that's August, but you can see kind of year to date, and then the July and June numbers are on there as well.
Great.
It looks like the trend is still upwards.
Yes,
as I can tell,
yes.
like-
So what you're seeing there, I think it says 8%.
Yes.
I would assume that by the end of the month, it'll probably be 11%.
Okay, great. Is that kind of in line with what you expected, or is it better?
So the way Treasurer Bonsall and I estimated this is we took out a one-off payment. Unfortunately, we didn't receive that one-off payment until the end of November and the beginning of December. So the kind of that 10% growth that you're seeing right now, that lines up perfectly with us not receiving that one-off payment and then hitting the estimate exactly.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Braden will be here shortly. Ms. Bronzel, did you want to review the city's investment strategy topic?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Councilmember. So before you all is a document that kind of details a investment firm that we're looking at, Red Tree Investment Group, to act as the city's financial advisor, investment advisor for some of our investments. Right now so you've heard me talk about Star Ohio a lot, so right now we have about $22 million at Star Ohio, and yeah, that'd be great actually if you could do that. So at Star Ohio, and we're getting great rates. We've got the overnight rate. When I looked this morning, it was 5.41%, which is awesome. It's hard to justify doing anything different this exact second because it's just such a great rate. That's in a very safe asset. However, you all have probably been seeing in the news about interest rates. The Federal Reserve, talking about we're going to finally start to decrease interest rates and. It's pretty much all but a certainty in September that they're going to begin the downward trend on interest rates. And so when those rates go down, it also brings down like interest rates and assets that Star Ohio might invest in. So Treasury T-bills and other things. So the average duration for a Star Ohio investment right now is like 33 days. So let's just assume that, things change tomorrow, we could see some pretty big changes at Star Ohio in a relatively short order. So the goal of talking to this investment firm is to then try to see how we can increase the duration, at least of a small part of our cash that we have on hand, so that we can basically lock in some of the rates that are out there now, so that in a year, and again this would be for a smaller part of the portfolio, but in a year, if rates have gone down significantly for the overnight Star Ohio rate, we'll still have some investments that'll be at a constant rate that'll put out for a year, 2 years, what have you. And Tim's right now printing out one other item that we missed that has like a little bit more kind of number details, but a little bit more about Red Tree. So they're actually located in the city of Norwood. So they're, the American Laundry building is where their offices are. They started there, they went to an office in Cincinnati for a bit, and now they're back. So it's kind of pretty awesome that we have a firm like that here. They only focus on public investments. So they don't do any private wealth, family offices, any other kind of stuff. It's just public sector. So counties, cities, townships, school districts, things like that. They have $9 billion under management. So, and I think it's about 100 different like entities that they worked with, but $9 billion under management, which is like pretty amazing. I want to figure it yet. I'd love to have I'd love for us to have an equitable portion of that, if you will, but we're a little bit smaller than some of the cities that they work with. But some of the other local places are like Loveland Schools, Cincinnati Public Schools, City of Blue Ash, City of Centerville, Montgomery, Sharonville, Wyoming Schools. You'll get the list here shortly that has a lot of their local stuff. As we talk about kind of the investments again, you'll have, and sorry there, Mr. Girton too, you'll have this in just a second, but I'm going to just go through it since not to waste your time. But as we talk about some of the objectives for investing, they're the same objectives and principles that Red Tree has are the exact same ones that are in our investment policy. So above everything else, it's safety of our principal, preservation of the principal, so that we're not losing any money, having it invested. So it's always going to be in items that are either like a CD that would be, it would run its course, you get a set amount of interest rate, or some kind of a government bond, a U.S. government bond, but nothing that could actually lose its value. It could be that we could always hold it and let the interest rate and let the interest payments, pay out, and we have our principal back. The second principle is liquidity, so just ensuring that we always have enough funds on hand to when you get this page 2 is where I'm at here. But we always want to make sure we have enough funds on hand to meet operating needs, and then we also want to make sure that we do get a market rate of return, whatever the standard rate of return we should be getting it for the asset classes that we're investing in. And then here you'll see like a list of like permitted investments, that we as cities are allowed to invest in. So local bank products like checking accounts. We have the sweep account where basically our funds get swept up into a single account and we get a small rate of return, but not a lot on that. The certificates of deposits. We have our Republic Bank. We're getting our Cedar account all set up and everything, but we'll be utilizing that and potentially some term deposits at Republic Bank depending on the rates. Star Ohio, this is where, because of the high rates that we're getting, I mean, there wasn't a CD during in the last 2 years beating Star Ohio at the time. So we just kept our money there, but now things again are likely to change just as interest rates go down. U.S. Treasury securities, which are very similar to, Treasury securities, so those are just like U.S. bonds. They're considered some of the safest out there. There's also some different agency securities like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have these different mortgage-backed securities. So the items on this side of the paper are items that initially we're not going to be, we're going to initially start with the stuff on the left, and then we'll potentially explore some of the things on the right. But for now, we'll be doing, the ones I've already talked about are the ones that we're going to be focusing on. You'll see that next page. Municipal bonds and commercial paper, those can be utilized as well, but there's limitations on how much that we can put in any one entity or how much of the funds. So when we do this, work with them, we're going to do, they're going to do a cash flow analysis with us where we're going to review, the historical trends. We're going to look at some of the recurring things that are happening, and then just some of the future things like capital projects, like bond amounts, other things, because again, the dollars that are available for investment, they're not just general fund dollars, they're in other funds as well. So we'll be doing an analysis, working with the auditor's office, to ensure that whatever we do, whatever we invest in or choose to invest in, that it is will not affect our ability to operate as a city. So, and we'll be very conservative on that. So this today is kind of showing, and this is a little bit outdated, but kind of shows like they're just an example of this is not meant to be 100% representative where we're at, but it's showing that right now we are at Star Ohio. We have a local bank, and it has the yield that you're getting there. So that the blended average, and again these are not numbered, but I'll show you next like why this matters. But example today, if you go to the next page here, this is an example of what a portfolio for Norwood could look like. So it would be potentially, $2 million in U.S. Treasuries, $1 million in the agency debt. So that would be like the mortgage-backed securities or other things that are seen as very safe. Maybe $2 million in certificates of deposit. So for a $5 million total. On the page before, and not to have to go back, but like it has the average maturity. And basically the average maturity is 0. So the duration, you're not guaranteed that rate, whatever rate you get, any more than tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Whereas on these different securities, you can lock in some of those durations. So like, we could have, as you see here, you see that kind of blend of 1.5, 2, and 2 for the average years of duration. That would allow us, even if the interest rates go down, for at least a small part of our portfolio, to lock those in and bring those forward. So that's kind of what we're trying to achieve, when we are talking about moving away from Star Ohio for a small part of our portfolio. And then it just kind of, this next page just kind of shows you like what it would look like if, the plan was implemented where we put the $5 million in the blended, kind of yield and the blended duration. So even though that the red tree portion of the portfolio might be 1.8 years, the total average maturity of the dollars that are invested it's only half a year. So we'll always try to keep that balance so that we don't have duration too long where we don't have access to funds that we need, or if interest rates change, we don't have the ability to capitalize on those higher interest rates if they were to go up. The big thing about so communication reporting. So we haven't like set out exactly how we're going to report these items to you all on a monthly basis, but I assume it will just come with the reconciliation. It'll just be another report that'll be included where we'll put the
an additional bank statement. We'll create a separate folder that way.
Yeah. And then we'll also call out. Yeah, there will be an additional bank statement. Yep, that's true too. And then we'll make sure that we call out. It could even be a separate report where we'll like actually show. A standalone, so you don't have to go find it, because these are pretty important things that you should have probably easier access to than trying to go and find the bank statements on the share drive. But they actually do a lot of the reporting for us, so they're gonna any kind of customized reporting that we're gonna need, we probably won't need all that much. They'll be able to do for us. And this is my favorite part. Is the next part, cost of services. So like what we're paying in order to do this. So So for any funds that we don't have at Red Tree, that either at Republic Bank or at Star Ohio, we don't pay anything on. So it's not like they're like, even though they're not like contracting for our whole portfolio, we don't pay anything unless it's actually at Red Tree. So, and the cost of it is 10 basis points per year, which would basically be 0.1% of the average balance of the portfolio that we have with them over a year basis. So, which is, I was talking to a friend of mine that is a financial advisor, very, very successful financial advisor. She's extremely impressive. And the lowest that they go for their private clients, and this is even if you have more than $10 million worth of assets with them, is 0.25%. And that's for any dollar amount after $10 million for select clients. So she was pretty blown away that they're doing it, that, the price that we have is 10 basis points. Red Tree did say that that is like kind of the going rate for like public entities. So it's not like they're cutting us any like super special deal, but just that when having our money with them, we're not going to be paying a lot of fees in order to do that. Like, and another great thing is that we still get, the same investment advice that a bigger city would get too. So even though we might have less dollars going to them, they're still advising us on. They've provided a couple of great tips for us on our banking relationship with Republic Bank, like some things we could ask for or adjust or what have you. And they gave us some examples of what other people are getting at other banks. So I think they're going to be extremely, extremely helpful. They're also like doing some reviews of our investment policy just to make sure that that's exactly like, we feel pretty good about it, but there very well could be things that we might need to edit on there, so they're going to review that as well. So all of that kind of comes in it. So, and again, it's only for money that's there. We do have to, it's kind of funny, we do have to go back to U.S. Bank, but they use U.S. Bank as a custodian of our funds, so we'll basically be going, they'll be creating an account, on our behalf there, but it's with a completely separate group than the commercial banking that we've been using. So we'll have full access to the account, so Tim and I will both be signers on the account, even though they're kind of managing the account for us. So it's still the City of Norwood's money, and we'll have access to it anytime that we want. So, and that's less than 1 basis point for the custodial fee. It's like 0.075% a year, which is
Like a $500 or something.
something like that, just to kind of keep things open. That way they'll send us different reports and things like that. So if we had, it's kind of the example fee calculation. If we had $5 million there, it said that about $5,300 would be the expenses. So the next is just kind of like where we go from here. So we've had the law department review the contract with Red Tree. They had a couple of just examples. I sent a copy of the contract to Candace too, so feel free if you want to see it. But it's very boilerplate language, so there's just a couple things that we're going to be very specific on in the Appendix A of exactly what we can invest in. They were going to just attach the city's investment policy to the back of it, but we're going to ask to just spell out exactly what is permitted as an investment in the contract. So that way there's no confusion whatsoever. The goal is going to be that if there's no objections or nothing else, another thing is I've also I talked to the city administrator in Fort Wright last night, and they use both Republic Bank and Red Tree. It's a very fascinating conversation because banks want to have products like you to be using their CD products and their things, but Republic Bank doesn't have a brokerage, so we can't buy bonds and stuff with Republic Bank. So it's a very fascinating conversation just about how they work together, but they do work together and it's fine. And they're also going to be willing to come to a future finance committee meeting as well. So if you all do want to have them come and just kind of talk about like what what their strategy is or what their plan is, happy to invite them. But we're going to hopefully get the contract signed within the next, honestly, few days if there's not a lot of objections. We want to try to beat, with these interest rates going down, we do want to try to make sure that we beat the next Federal Reserve meeting, which is going to be like, I don't know, I forgot
September 18th.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. September 18th. So we're going to keep kind of moving forward with this, but we're going to communicate with council. Like every council meeting, I'll probably give you an update on where we are with this, and any finance committee meetings too. Tim or I will give an update there. So yeah, with that, if you all have any questions, I'm open to them. Yeah.
So just to kind of summarize, so I know that I've understood it. Essentially right now we've got a beautiful 5.4% interest rate, but with the decrease in rates for the Fed, if it goes down by 25 basis points, it's probably going to slip down below this potential 4.7% investment rate that we could lock in right now if we did that. Does that seem, is that accurate?
I would say yes.
And not the exact numbers, but you know what I mean.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's actually interesting too. So we're kind of seeing an inverse yield curve. So normally, like the longer these treasury bonds are, the more interest rate you get. That's in a normal environment. But with everybody seeing where interest rates are going, essentially the longer duration treasury bonds are actually providing less yield. So we'll have to analyze. We're going to be looking at all that, using them as advisors to try to figure out what the best is. But for the most part, we're going to try to leave as much as possible at Star Ohio. Just because it's so liquid. I mean, we literally can call and get it pretty much the next day. So it's we like having the flexibility to be able to do that. But if rates go down too low, then we'll make adjustments.
For me, this seems logical, based on other people, other school systems, cities are invested in this way, and as long as we keep that liquidity up of the majority of the funds, I personally don't see any objections that I could raise.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sounds like a wise and conservative approach to
Yes.
taking care of our money.
We're not investing in crypto or anything.
That is correct. Crypto will not be a permitted investment.
Excellent.
So, yes. Awesome. Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excuse me. All right, Mr. Miracle, you're up next.
Good evening. Been a couple months. Seems like a long time. I have forwarded to you our monthly budget for June and July. Hope you had time to review those. Obviously, we've talked about this before. We just tried to address any anomalies on there, so you can review those and have questions for us. But we hope to use this moving forward with our, when we start planning our budget for next year as well, which no time like the present. I'm assuming that's going to be starting here pretty quickly. But is there any questions that you had that about June and July that I can answer? Everything seems to be pretty much on par with what the percentages should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing that stands out of line right now. And I think one of the things that I want to do is want to publish this and put this on the auditor's website. I know we talked about this. We've been talking about it for months. It'd be nice if everyone could just log on there and take a look at that. So I'll get with Mr. Smith and we'll get that taken care of.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be great for those couple people watching.
Yeah.
That just want to know. So right now, like our revenue and expenses are right about where they should be for the year.
Right.
Expenses about 58.5% of what the estimate is, and revenue is about 67.65% of what it should be at this time of year. So nothing abnormal or weird.
And just for transparency's sake, let's put it out there, and you can take a look at it. Anyone has any questions, they can certainly ask. I'd be glad to answer. And our audit is complete, so that should be filed by Thursday or Friday. Literally had it when I walked in here, so I need to read that. It's about 4 or 5 pages long, so appears there wasn't any initial findings, so I'll talk to the auditor tomorrow, and I'll report out on that the next meeting. Good?
Good.
Awesome.
That's great. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of time that goes into that, so it's,
I went through and I looked at all the comments because I just was curious about everything. So I just want you to know your effort is not going unlooked at.
Thank you.
I spent about
Thank
half
you.
an hour last night
Yeah.
kind of going through.
Well, I think
love numbers.
if we can kind of compare, the last 2 years
Mm-hmm.
to where, just where we are and using this going forward. Call us, we'll be the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
But I'm just really excited to, we've been going over this every month, but as we go forward and we start to see those budgets come and that planning process and, in March we get kind of all the official things in front of us, just having a better understanding and a firmer grasp of the historical data of where those numbers are coming from, and this is what we're looking at going forward. So I'm excited to kind of use this in that process. So I think it'll be, I'm excited, as we move forward through all the processes to be able to utilize this. And then you have some gatherings coming up with the local auditors. And
Yeah, we recently joined the Greater Cincinnati Fiscal Officers Association, Marcus and Jeff and myself, and we had a meeting last Tuesday. Apparently those are meetings during the day. There's a lunch meetings, and it's every other month. So we met in Evendale, and I have to say it was very well attended. There was quite a number of people there. I guess somewhere in 50, 60 range. So, and that will happen again in October. Our our intent is to talk to other fiscal officers like ourselves, so we can talk to them about best practices and maybe some of the things that they're doing in their office that maybe we could implement here in Norwood. And also join the Ohio chapter as well. And that they have an annual meeting, and ironically, it's in Cincinnati next month, the 24th and 25th, so we'll be attending that as well.
Okay, any other updates from others?
Yeah, that's it for tonight.
Great, thank you. So I did put on there, our last thing is council needs to appoint 2 individuals to the Tax Board of Appeals. I reached out to a handful of people. I think Mrs. Franson reached out to a handful. I asked some individuals that I know are tax experts or auditors or accountants or, you know, all of that. And one of the recommendations was our treasurer for Norwood City Schools, so Julie Camphouse. I contacted her and she said she was very interested. So that was easy. And then another individual that said he was interested is Nick Rarica. Julie being the treasurer for the school district and everything amazing she's doing, I don't feel like I have to go through her credentials. I think she'd be great to have on the Tax Board of Appeals. And then Mr. Rarica, he just sent me kind of a brief. So he has his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. Am I going to Juris Doctor? Is that became a lawyer? University of Dayton. He's worked for electrical engineer for 4 years. He practiced as a patent attorney for 17 years. And now he is a partner at Dinsmore, and he's been there for about 10 years. He's also a board member at the Bluegrass for Babies for 4 years. He is on the Norwood Fireworks Committee, and just a general helps around Norwood when he can. So those would be the 2 recommendations. We would like to have those appointments voted on at council tonight, just to have the board ready to go if everyone agrees on that. So just wanted to get your guys' input, thoughts. If there was anyone else you might think would be good for the spots. Good?
Those sound very, very qualified.
Yeah, having a treasurer and a lawyer seems like a good skill set for this kind of thing. And this is like, the Tax Board of Appeals has not met in the 2.5 years that I've been on council.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it is nice for these otherwise very busy people can be a very small part of something. I don't have to like commit an evening every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll probably, I'm going to add the finance committee report to council, and as long as everyone is okay, I'll recommend council to vote on those appointments tonight, so we can move forward with that. All right. Anything else? Finance committee. I have, again, we'll meet, we already said it, right? September 18th or the 4th? Tuesday, September 24th will be our next finance committee meeting. That still works for everybody?
Excuse me.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.